All right. Okay, here we go. And good morning, everyone. Good morning, everybody. And even those who are yet to join us, I say good morning to everyone on behalf of NANTAP and ICCPA. It's a pleasure. It's our pleasure and a very great one to have us here again. We really appreciate your joining us this morning. You know, like I jokingly said just now, it is.
All right.
Oh,
Okay, here we go. And good morning.
sorry about that. Like I jokingly mentioned just now, it's like this our like 6 weeks break from this 2 weekly session already is setting in. So most people have moved on to probably some other thing, and I know that almost on a daily basis, a lot of us are involved also in a series of Zoom talks, Zoom conferences, Zoom workshops, Zoom seminar, or Zoom meeting or the other on a daily basis. So that you are able to join us today, we appreciate your time. And so I welcome you on behalf of NANTAP. Unfortunately, the NANTAP president is on the road, but he'll be joining us somewhere in between days. So also uh, our second moderator. But very quickly, before I hand it over to the moderator, let me quickly recognize the presence here of our three speakers. We have in the house, let me do it the ladies first. We have Ijoma Esekalaye. I hope I pronounced that pretty well. Please correct me. And Nantap will pay the ransom if I misspelled it. So I'm not the one to
You
pay.
did. You did
Oh,
pronounce
okay.
it well. It's Esekalaye. So you did
Esekalaye.
pronounce it well.
All right,
And
thank
to
you.
make it simple for you, you can just say Ijema Esek.
Oh, okay. Ijoma
Yeah.
Esek. All right. Okay. Thanks for joining us. We are pleased to have you. Ijoma is an online personality and, of course, one with very rich experience in art reporting as well. So she's more or less, she's as good as an artist, considering her background. We also have here with us the one I call my editor, Mr. Ozolua Wakeme is here from the Nation newspapers, and he's one of those who will be doing justice to the topic we have before us today. And of course, we have my Egbon himself, German Anikolapo. I mean, Uncle German is many things to many of us, so let me not even attempt to try to describe him or pin him to any of what he belongs to. So I will just say we have with us Uncle German Anikolapo. So we are pleased to have you and welcome. I
Thank you.
will just quickly recognize the presence in the house of Professor Ismail Bala from BUK, that is Bayero University, Kano. And also we have in the house Professor Mabel Eweroma, who is from the theater department of University of Abuja. At the moment, we have Joshua Esek, and we have one of our two moderators. Unfortunately, our second moderator has some emergency this morning. It's sorted, it's not anything bad. He's only just returning to his office to join us, after attending to that emergency in person of Toyo Edwards. Is going to join us in the course of this. But we already have one of the moderator here who is you are seeing Living Green. That is because of who she is, but she is by name Chinelo Chikelu, and she's of the leadership newspaper here in Abuja. Okay. I use here in Abuja because we are broadcasting live from Abuja, even though a lot of us are in different parts of Nigeria.
Hello.
Yeah, so you're welcome. Yeah, so this morning or in this edition of Holding Talks, which of course happened to become our last resort during the lockdown. It started as an on-site engagement where we meet on a quarterly basis to discuss issues, around what I would call art action, in Abuja here. But during the lockdown, we moved it to the digital platform, and with the help of NANTAP, this has grown. I mean, beyond even our imagination, because it has become a partnership between NANTAP and ICCPA, that is International Center for Creative and Performing Arts, which is based in Abuja here. And this morning we are looking at a topic or an issue that is very, very important to a whole lot of us. I remember some 3 years ago back in Lagos at the at the Lagos Theatre Festival, and a section of that festival was a seminar where we talked about mentorship and art reporting, basically the death of literary criticism or theater criticism, to be precise. And so here today we are looking at art reporting and a sustainable theater culture. I mean, with our speakers in the house this morning, we are going to be looking at what exactly is the role of art reporting, or how can art reporting help, better the lot of theater in Nigeria in terms of appreciation, in terms of its growth, and in terms of everything that we can think of. And so very quickly, I would start with Oga Ozolua. The idea is that our three speakers would speak generally to this issue around about 10 minutes each. And then after that, we would take questions from the moderators and from those who are participating with us. While I will leave Oga Ozolua to begin this process, I would like to just step away and quickly help some people who are trying to log in. Oga Ozolua, sir, you have the floor now.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm glad to be on this platform, I must tell you. Before I start addressing the topic of today, please indulge me to pay a big tribute to our big Oga who started this journey of art journalism in Nigeria. By that, I mean Mr. Bentomoloju. Because without him, I don't think all this we are talking here would have started. He pioneered the course of art journalism in Nigeria. And I'm sure many of you know all of that. Now, to the issue of the day. By way of backgrounding, art reporting is one of the most tasking, specialized aspects of journalism. Like you have the judiciary and business reporting. But its relationship with theater culture is symbolic in a nature, because art reporting and theater, to me, are two sides of a coin in the promotion of people's heritage, while also informing, entertaining, and serving as a tool for social change in the society. Apart from its entertainment values, I must say, theater's advocacy capacity is also in tandem with the conditional role of the media as a fourth estate of the realm. However, theater culture, to blossom and make the desired impact in society, art reporting on its own, which is a twin brother of theater culture, must also not only be active, but must be visible in terms of space. Because if there's no space, I doubt whether anybody can see whatever we are reporting. The question you want to ask me perhaps is that, how well has art reporting performed in this responsibility? I know that must be a question that would be agitating people's mind. But for me, I think to answer this question, you must first examine the following posers. Now, who is an art reporter? How is art reporting perceived by media organizations in Nigeria? Then, how much space does art occupy in the media? And again, importantly, how attractive is the art beat to other journalists? Because you recall that the turnover of art desk reporters is very low, unlike other beats. By the time we provide answers to these posers, the appraisal of the performance of art reporting would have been put in contest. However, today, unfortunately, the media industry in Nigeria is on its knees, no thanks to economic depression and the recent COVID pandemic. But before it got this bad, in the early 80s and perhaps 90s to 2000, art reporting was quite active and visible, to the extent that some reviews in the major mainstream newspapers then rattled the military administrators, including Babangida and Abacha. I recall that even in the days of the doyen of journalism in arts, entomology, used to be with the late Obato Ogunde in location. That tells you the rapport and the closeness of art reporting and the theater culture. This relationship did not only stop there, it continued till the birth of National Truth and thereafter, until the decline in the provision of spaces for art journalism to thrive. Then this relationship on its own was beginning to dwindle, you know. But you can also appreciate the fact that in spite of these challenges, there are enormous benefits to this relationship. Now, theater as an art is a persuasive communication format, which means it's also part of the media operation. PR will use it to negotiate. PR will use it to subtly get to message to the high authorities when they don't want to confront them. They can use all manner of theater production to pass their message out, you know. So by the time art journalism adds the benefit of publicity to the culture theater, it grows the awareness of the production and the message itself. It also helps to evaluate the quality of production in terms of the content, how far the directors, the producers have been able to use language, space, imagery, effect, and all of that to pass their message across. And even the feedback of the audience too. By the time the art reporter gets the feeling of the audience, he can get their feedback to the producers who might have to do an extra work to improve their production, you know. And generally, it also generates followership for the production in and outside the country. And by then, you are increasing your advocacy performances. You know, you cannot say that art journalism and theater culture are far apart. No, they are very close. The relationship also allows for proper realization of the goals of theater production outfits. It helps in no small way to cement bonds and friendship, even among nations. I recall in 2018, NANTAP organized a presentation of the marriage of Anasewa at the Muson Center. It was done in partnership with Lagos State Council for Art and Culture. Believe me, after that presentation, the audience were demanding for more, the Nigerian audience, because it looks like a novel part of the musical they are watching before. When I did my review, the executive director of the Ghana Theatre troupe, who led the troupe to Nigeria, he confessed that after he read my review, he got several invitations from other Nigerian universities, especially in the northern part of Nigeria, to come and present that same musical for their audience. You know, by that you hello?
Go ahead, sir.
You can see how media or art journalism and theater culture can go beyond borders and cement bonds and relationships. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ozolua. Thank you. I am sure that we'll get more from you by the time we get to the interactive session. I welcome those who are joining us, and sincere apologies.
Thank you.
Obviously, something went wrong, and a lot of people were. I was wondering why the response, the attendance was low this time around, but it's obvious people have been having challenges logging it. So I'm trying to sort that out at the back end. So very quickly, we go to Ijoma. Ijoma, you can unmute yourself. Hello, Ijoma.
Okay, hello, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning. Are we still in the morning? Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
I want to thank NANTAP and the organizers of this event today. If I want to go by the experience I have, I don't think I am worthy to be part of the speakers today, but for deeming it fit to invite me, I really appreciate this and I don't take this for granted. A lot of, like my colleague just spoke, Mr. Ozulua, he made mention of some facts. And yes, of course, the media and those that report acts, they are really going through a lot of challenges. But before we go into that, we all know what ACT is all about. It encompasses the film industry. We would look at the music industry, the creative industry, even fashion designers. They are also part of this body. And the art family is quite wide and has gone a long way to empower both Nigerians and those living outside the country. For one, I would like to speak. The topic says art reporting, sustainable theater culture. Do we have a theater culture in Nigeria? Growing up, I could remember that what we have lots of theater production, we have film houses, and during the course of the years, there was a decline. But I'm so happy to announce, and we all know that this is already picking up in terms of the theater culture in Nigeria. I have not been to most parts of Nigeria, but I will tell you that in Lagos State, for instance, the art culture and the theater culture is growing, and it is growing beyond, and I pray that it is going to grow beyond leaps and bounds. I, for one, if you want to be an art reporter or editor, you will definitely have to face some challenges. In the journalism world, everyone, both genders are one, and there is no gender imbalance in it. Everyone is tagged as one, and we are all gentlemen of the press. I could remember that most creative art programs that is being held, they are mostly in the nights. And trust me, the other gender, if we want to go by what is being obtainable, you would notice that a whole lot of people would say that the art reporting is not for women. But I can tell you that balancing this with family is a long way. There are times that you will have to, if you don't have a passion for journalism or for the act itself, you will not be able to function. You will not be able to even do anything. I could remember some years back, before the pandemic, I will, as a person, have to go and cover events that has to do with art. It could be a film premiere, it could be a theatrical production that you will have to go far to cover. And you will definitely, you cannot remove some challenges and some endangering activities when it comes to you covering acts on its own. But like my colleague just spoke, Mr. Ozulua, he made mention of the fact that art in every organization, media organization is poorly, is the perception is quite poor, because a lot of people would prefer to tell you that they can invest in some other fields like politics and others, and business. But a lot of organizations would tell you they can do without the arts desk, failing to understand that this same job, this industry is wide, and it has produced a whole lot of great people in the industry. So I believe that this perception that is out there needs to be corrected. If it is not being corrected, a lot of folks coming up would not appreciate this job. They will not be appreciated because they would see the challenges before all the good things that art has to provide for people. We've had journalists that has gone as far as covering jobs and even moving into the theater industry or music and films. So I believe this perception should be corrected. And if this perception is not corrected, a lot of people, journalism students and others that have found their way in journalism, would not want to take up a job in the industry, in the sector. And I would always say, it is very, very tasking. You have a lot of work to do in order for you to stand out and not to just be not to just be a follower, but you need to know the tools to become a good journalist in the first place before you can even diversify and become an art reporter. I don't know if my time is up. I was given 10 minutes.
If you have not rounded up your thoughts, I mean, you can do so, yes. But if you are okay for now, then we can take whatever more you have later.
Okay, so like what I jotted out some things yesterday, and part of it is, what challenges do journalists face in reporting art and others in general? The pressure that people face. Number one, you must be timely. If you must be an art reporter, you must ensure that you are timely and getting a story and posting it on time. If you remember, before now, a lot of people would travel far in order for them to post their stories, to get their stories posted. But now, with the advent of the internet, it has gone a long way to help and to ensure that stories are being gotten fast, and with a click. With your phone, you can actually do all you have to do. And until now, measurability, until now, awards are not even being, people that are into the arts are not well appreciated. Growing up, if you tell your parents that you want to go into the art industry, they will not support you. But these days, I am so happy that a lot of parents are now appreciating it. And journalists now, you don't need to go far or near, far, in order for you to assess who a particular journalist is, especially when it comes to those covering art. With a click on the internet, you will definitely get all the information that you need. And I'm sorry to say, a lot of people are ignorant about what the sector and what the industry is all about. There is ignorance in it. If you know and you understand what the industry is all about, what you will get as an art writer or as a theater person, you will appreciate it, and you would appreciate it. You will go further to appreciate the content, the lighting. These are the things that would endear you to the field on its own. And I also jotted out something that has to do with the future of art reporting. Art contributes a lot to every country, irrespective of the fact that government does not really contribute so much in the arts industry in Nigeria, we can all say that the industry has blossomed to a stage that people can easily reckon with the group. Then before now, it is difficult to get people to sponsor the work of art. Only those that appreciate it will do that. And distribution, even to get people to come and watch this program is always difficult. But these days, it is going beyond even what we can even comprehend on our own. And I'm happy to say that in the future, in the nearest future, there's going to be more international collaboration. Yes, there are some now, but how many countries do we even liaise with? The theater is huge. It goes beyond Nigeria. And theater culture, I believe, should not be abandoned. And the most important people that I would also like to appeal for assistance for are the veterans. The veterans need to be taken care of. I could remember a few years ago, like about 2 years ago, NANTAP had a program where they appreciated veterans in the industry. I think this is a laudable idea and it should not be abandoned. It should be encouraged. Those that have paid their dues, those that have ensured that, yes, despite the fact that they are being castigated, despite the fact that they are not, their families at the time did not encourage them in the industry. Those that are still alive should be encouraged. And aside even this, the journalists that report this field too should also be encouraged. And I would also be glad if there's a unity in terms of there's a collaboration, a wonderful and a great collaboration between those that are covering arts in Nigeria and the practitioners itself. There is no collaboration to the best of my knowledge. If this can be done, it will also go a long way in order to ensure that everyone is carried along. Thank you very much. I would like to stop here for now and allow others to talk.
Sure. Thank you very much, Ijeoma, for that very deep thoughts on this topic. Permit me very quickly to inform that the national president has now joined us. And of course, also we have Dickness Nkechi Okeshola in the house. We have Godwin Agba Anyim. We have Oluwanifemi Richard Bruce, my Egmont at the top. And of course, we have Dr. Steve James from Fulafia. And of course, we have a guest, our very regular guest has been from Saudi Arabia. You are very welcome, sir. We're glad to have you. And so now I would leave the floor open to Uncle German and Nikolapo for his presentation. Enjoy.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Every time I hear the term uncle, I feel like an old man. Ijeoma will now think that I'm an old man now. So please disregard uncle. I'm just German and Nikolapo. I'm very glad to be here, especially to, give an opinion about what is about arts reporting in the newsroom. I think this is something I've spoken about in many ways. I'm sure Ozolua will bear me witness that we even had a spat on online in the past. But let me throw a caveat. I can say that I'm rustic about arts reporting in the newsroom because I left the newsroom 7 years ago. But I'm glad to say that I spent 29 years, at least around in the Guardian there. I wrote for the arts for 19 years, and then I edited a title for 10 years. So I hope Mabel is not chuckling there, Professor Mabel, because you say I'm an old man. But I'll just speak around what has been said. I have a slide that I presented, but I'm not sure I need to share it. I'll just speak around it. We talk about arts reporting in the newsroom. Number one, my experience in the newsroom then was that the newsroom itself is not ready for critical arts reporting. If I remember that my very first writing in 1987, when I went to an event and I wrote and I submitted, that the chief sub-editor of The Guardian called me. He squeezed the paper and stoned me with it. He said, who do you think will read this your long grammar? Now, this is a newspaper. It's for popular read. People spend their money to buy the newspaper. They want to read your stuff as news or report. Not that you bring all the canon that you have learned in school. You know, we're fresh from school, 1987, and we're trying to show everything we learned under Professor Adelugba, under all our teachers, Femi Fatoba and Umukoro and co. So all the canon we learn about Aristotelian theories to arts, journalism, and the rest of them. So we're trying to more or less like show off. But then we're reminded that arts reporting in the newsroom cannot take that form because it is a popular read. So my first shoot, as we say, is to those who are expecting that arts reporting in the newsroom. I'm speaking to a point that Ozolua raised, very important point about the way art reporting is done. I mean, the nature of report that you file in the newsroom. That some people who wonder why are they not writing like the people who are in the academy? I mean, you cannot do that in the newsroom because the newsroom structure does not allow for that. But that's something I'll touch on later. So arts reporting in the newsroom has to be a smart way of combining both report and criticisms. Mostly, you have to tilt your report towards reporting because it is when you report that you can fit into the page. If you want to convert the page to a critical page, it doesn't work. And that's why we like to encourage and I thought Professor Dandaura will be here because, you know, when we had the IATC, one of the things we said was that we should have journals. We should have a mushroom of journals that can accommodate many of those kind of materials. But if you don't have that, the newsroom cannot be that. You can only have a semblance of it, unless the newspaper deliberately decided to have a pullout, which was what the Guardian literary series was doing, and which was what Next tried to do with the art. I think Induka Otiono too did it at Post Express. Guardian came back and did art review. Unless specifically you want to be like the Sunday Times of London or the Guardian of London, where they have a pullout that will deal with critical material. Otherwise, it's not sustainable because the page, if you are not careful, does not generate revenue for the owners of the paper. And I've not seen anybody who has set up a newspaper simply because they want to do, or set up a radio or television station simply because they want to do pure service to the nation. They want to make profit, especially if they have to pay salaries and the rest of them. So arts reporting in the newsroom has to take a particular, if it's going to become a course of study in school, maybe we need to start thinking about that. I hope Professor Iwerioma is listening to that. It may be something that we need to teach because some few years back, Professor Ola Oloidi of University of Nigeria, Nsukka, an art critic, wrote back to the Guardian that our language was not elevated, and we had to write back. We fired back to him. That, sir, you've been training hundreds of art historians and art critics. Where are they? Why are they not writing in the newspapers? Why are they leaving it to art journalists whose orientation is either mass comm or they study English or they study literature, and they are managing to write on the arts? If they go beyond the expectation of their organization, they are likely to be thrown out. As Ijoma was saying, the job is not secured. The moment they see that you are not connecting with the general readership, you are thrown off. You can check from Dr. Shola Balogun, who has become an academic now in Nifoye. He ran into problems because of the kind of writing that I was saying. We had to go and defend him to say, look, he trained in this way, and that's the way he knows how to write. So, as I said, I'm speaking around the subject that have been raised. Now, talking about criticisms, state of criticism in Nigerian culture, production environment. I would like to quote John Simon, who was writing in the Guardian of London, of UK. He said, we live in an age, he said, criticism in an uncritical age. We live in an age when everyone is a critic. Criticism is all over the internet, in blogs and chat rooms, for everyone to access and add his 2 cents, what on any subject, high or low. But if everyone is a critic, is that still criticism? Or are we heading toward the end of criticism? If all opinions are equally valid, there is no need for experts. Democracy works in life, but art is undemocratic. Please note that art is undemocratic. The result of this ultimately meaningless barrage is that more and more we are living in a profoundly or shallowly uncritical age. A critic, as T.S. Eliot famously observed, must be very intelligent. Now, talking about character of a critic. Now, can anybody assume that the invasion of cyberspace by opinion is proof of great intelligence and constitutes informed criticism rather than uninformed artistic chaos? I read that just to buttress what I was trying to say about the vocation of the art journalist. I think the art journalist has to decide if you want to be a journalist, which is more of reporting, or you want to be a critic. If you want to be a critic in the newspaper, I do not see how the newspaper structure can accommodate you. Please prompt me when my time is off, because I want to say my own response to that, which I referred to earlier on. When we're having A1, we used to have this very vibrant discussion group, Art Writers Organization of Nigeria, and we got into discussion. And it was a battle of wit between myself and my own sidemen, as I can call them, Steve Ayorinde, Laiwola Adeniji, Chuka Nabuife, and all the Ozolua. We all came and started to attack each other. That why are we not doing criticism in the paper? So I was responding to some of those issues, and I was saying that, look, a critic, a purposeful, professional, and competent critic will not read a book halfway and then write a review. That was the art of a hyped controversy between 2 writers and journalists a few years back, when a supposed critic who had not read completely the work of his friend, colleague, went to press and posted jaundiced judgment. He sold himself cheap and insincere by that act to the public. A critic will sit through a show, read through a book, and live through an event or an experience, even if the show, book, or event is made of a mesh of mess. He will be patient, thorough, and broad-minded in his approach. The critic's job is not as cheap as and unimportant as the musician has made it. Okay, I was responding to a masked musician who said that you guys don't know what you are writing, you are not criticizing music. So, but isn't that what even most art writers have made of the vocation, with their pen and tongue steaming hot of writing off creative products, or imposing their own half education or ignorance on the unfortunate consumers of critical comments? My point there is that the nature of the newsroom, because we're talking of art journalism for sustainable, right? Art journalism, as it is presently constituted, cannot stomach art criticism. And I'm saying that, I know it's a very unpopular opinion, but I'm saying that because you are expected to produce a work of criticism every week. How do you do that when you have to watch a play? You have to write, because many art journalists are all-rounders. You have to watch a play, you have to read a book, you have to go to the visual art. You are also struggling with the problem that everybody is struggling with on the street of Lagos, or on the street of Abuja, or everywhere in Nigeria. How do you get to that? Apart from that, you are also mostly the producer of your own page. Well, that was my experience. As I said, I'm rustic now, I don't know what to obtain, but I know that in those days you have to plan your own page. I sit down to plan my page. I know Zolua does that now for his paper. Where do you have the time to sit and engage? But then there's a way you can circumvent that. You could get people from outside to write for you, and then you publish. But if you get people to write for you from the public, how are they going to get paid? That's a big problem. If they are not being paid, for a long time I was sustaining contributions from my own pocket. I have to pay people who were writing for me. I'll use my salary to pay them. So the last thing I would say, which Ijoma touched on, the role, and Ozolua too, role of the art journalist. The art journalist should see himself or should be considered a partner in the creative process. How did I join journalism? It was fortuitous. I was a member of Kakake Art Course, and my teacher, Bentomoloju, insisted as a member of the Kakake Art Course, which Jerry too was a part of, that you have to write. It's not enough that you produce a play. In fact, the script conference starts with you writing. You have to write on the content of the script. Then you have to write on your role. Then you now have to write on the play. So that became a tradition for some of us. So the orientation of the journalist will determine how it functions. Then when he went to Punch and Democrat and then eventually The Guardian, I followed the same trend. So when I went to school and there was an opportunity to do theater, dramatic theories and theater criticism, I was in the same class with Professor Ewe Roma. We were 15 that started, we were 3 that graduated in that course. You can ask her. Because everybody ran away because Adeluba insisted that you have to write almost every day. If a day I went to him, I said, sir, there was no play. I mean, I'd been to a better, I'd gone to drink, and I didn't have time to write. He said, no, look at that young lady walking on the street. Angela Mora, I said, go and write about what she's wearing. So, you have to develop the consciousness to be a critic. So it's not something that is just out there for you to do. So the orientation of the art journalist determines. That's why I said that an art journalist have to be a partner in the creative process. Some of us had to join when in the days of audio production. That was when the full engagement with art reporting came on. We were sleeping outside one night when Richard Damijo said, yeah, man, we're doing all these shows and nobody is writing about them. Let's begin to write now. So we started writing and using fake names and sending it to the newspaper. I'm talking of 1984, 85. And they were publishing them and things. So you can say that because we were part of the production, it was easy for us to be able to master the language, to know. But my knowledge of visual art, for instance, I was sitting around people like Joe Musa, and learning on their, asking questions and getting to know. But the art journalists today, I'm not sure you have that luxury where you could go and sit in a studio, but if you have opportunity to sit in a rehearsal or in a music studio, it helps a lot. So the art journalist must see himself as both a partner and a partner in the creative process. And the artists themselves, the producers, must see the art journalist as a partner, which means that you have to cultivate him. It's one family. If you check, most of the art journalists are themselves artists in a way. They're either poets or prose writers or dramatists, or there's some bit of art in what they do. I can name so many names of many of these who are themselves artists. So the first step has been conquered in the fact that they have become part of the family. So why don't you cultivate them? Let them be part of your creative process so they can debrief you. Bolanle Austin Peter does it a lot. You can see that she gets a lot of mileage by people sitting in there and asking questions. And when you are part of the creative process, your language and your style of presentation will definitely be different. I didn't know we were going to talk about the future of the art, but I heard Ijoma saying that. So I want to check something from my slide. Here I talked about training. Training is very important. As we speak now, I'm not aware, mark my word, I am not aware there's any of our creative art department, drama, film, or whatever, that is actually training journalists in how to report on their specific field, how to report film, for instance, how to report visual arts. I'm not talking of art historian, how to report each of these different disciplines. I'm not sure there's any training module that's existing. We tried to introduce one to KWASU, Kwara State University, when they were starting, but it didn't go far. So that training module has to be established. Now, capacity development, capacity building is different from training. Training is the one that you can get in a formal setup and informal setup. But capacity building means that you have to be exposed to some measure of practice, which is, like apprenticeship that they do in drama, for instance. So capacity development, capacity building could be in terms of integrative learning skills, where you are part of a particular training system, a capacity building workshops and the rest of them that come up now and then. In the days of Awan, we used to have quite a lot, and many of us gained from that. And I talked about personal development, that the art journalist, as I've mentioned earlier, has to develop himself. And the way to develop yourself is to immersion. Immerse yourself in some of this creative process. So you can watch a director at work and ask questions. And the director, we assume, already has the directorial language through which you could address it. I see through today Awosami production because it's a work, it's rehearsal, just like entomology, it's like a training for me. I learned quite a lot of language that, quite a lot of diction that I could deploy in my writing. And then organization. We have the Arts Writers Organization of Nigeria, which has morphed into Art and Cultural Writers Association of Nigeria. I think Ozolo is still on the executive, and the Entertainment Journalists. These organizations will help a lot in terms of defending the right of the artist, the right of the art journalist, so that we have a system in which the art journalist does not feel threatened. Organizations, when you are in organization, you can make a case. I want to make intervention in the past when some journalists were being sent away simply because they said productivity was not high enough. So art journalists, I want made some intervention by writing, maybe because of the weight of the leadership, Bentomoloju and co. They were able to write to Punch, for instance, to say, no, you cannot rusticate that art journal because they were saying his productivity was not matching that of business and politics. How do you want an art journalist productivity to match that? And productivity mean was in terms of the money that their section was bringing in and co. So organization will really help a lot in that field. Again, as art associations, art journalists are sacked, they are rusticated, they are sent away, art pages are killed. I cannot remember when any art association, NANTAP, for instance, if you value the work of that theater, that guy who is reporting your activities and theater, you should be able to get in touch with the management of the organization and say, no, this person is performing a very important role to our discipline, to our profession, and we'd like him to be protected. Thank you very much.
Very much. German and Nikolapo without the uncle. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let me quickly recognize the presence with us. Like I mentioned earlier on, the president of NANTAP, Mr. Israel Ebo, is in the house. Also, we have Dr. Shola Adeyemi from the UK, and another of our international guests and friend in the house. We have here with us Dr. Matt Jennings from Ulster University in Northern Ireland. Thank you for joining us. Right about now, I would like to, before Chinelo will step in for the moderation and the interactive session, let me quickly allow the president to make his remark, a brief remark, and then we continue with the interaction. Mr. Ebo, sir.
Hello, Jerry.
Yes, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, I'm joining a little bit late. I'm in transit right now, so network is on and off. But I've greatly enjoyed the presentations. I didn't expect anything less from a panel of discussants. Like Ijoma said, it is absolutely necessary that going forward, recognizing the role that art reporters play in the promotion and the acceptance of a vibrant theater culture, both locally and internationally, there is the absolute need for there to be collaboration between the practitioners and those who report and get us to the public domain. And NANTAP recognizes this. One of the reasons why we decided to deal with this topic today. Of course, what this has shown is that we need to move beyond just such discussions to practicalizing the collaboration. It can only be a win-win situation German has also thrown up a challenge, the need for capacity building to take place. It is true that this cannot be left to the media organizations because their first consideration is profit, it's business. It is those of us who are within this field who recognize the importance and the synergy that should exist between the practice and those who report us, those who make sure that people get to know what is happening within the sector, what we do, our contribution to national development, our contribution as custodians of our culture. It is also now our responsibility to make sure that our reporters also are exposed to modern techniques, to what is happening globally, and to see how we can tap into this. And I want to assure you all that NANSAP will definitely go further than we have done into working with the relevant bodies, the Entertainment Writers Union and all that, towards creating a platform where, even if it's going to be once in a year to start with, we'll be having a capacity building, we'll be sharing ideas, and we'll be exploring ways at creating a better synergy between us, the practitioners, and the journalists. Now, because they are journalists, like German writer said, most of them are also by training, first and foremost, artists, practitioners, thespians, in performance one way or the other. The fact that they've moved to the other side is because it is absolutely necessary. So we want to appreciate you. I want to thank everyone who's been here. The truth is, Holding Talks has been on hold for a couple of weeks. And so that, again, may have also informed or impacted on the attendance, but this is going to continue. We are getting back to our fortnightly presentation. And I also want to say here that one of the things that have come out of the previous Holding Talks that we've had is the need for proper capacity building. And come October 7th and 8th, NANSAP will be organizing a workshop for artists, everyone who is within the field, whether as reporters, as practitioners, as managers, as teachers of theater, of the arts. We're organizing a workshop on effective leadership and management in the arts with the theme artist to administrator, bridging the transitional gap. We must bridge that gap. We must begin to also produce artists who are effective administrators. It is because we do not have enough. That's why most of the time, even government arts agencies, whether at the state or federal level, they bring non-practitioners, all in the name of there being administrators to head these agencies. And we know that we are always the worst for it. So there is the need, even as we work towards building a more effective and robust art reporting pool, we also must build a pool of art administrators. So we'll be looking forward, but we'll continue these Holding Talks even before then. Once again, I thank you all for joining us. Prof. Wirima, thank you very much. You've been an ever constant feature in all our programs. God bless you. We appreciate your being there, and we always benefit from your contributions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. And so right about now, my job is done. And so Chinelo's own starts from here. Chinelo Chikelu is from the Leadership newspaper in Abuja, and she's going to be moderating. She's going to be moderating this session. Chikelu, the floor is yours.
Hello.
Hello.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I'd like to start off with where Mr. German stopped, where he talked about the art organizations also supporting and seeing art reporters as members of their family. I'm going to speak from my own experience. sometimes, usually when you want to report, when I want to report the art sector, I try to be as immersive as possible in the experience so that I can know my way around and what exactly is the newsworthy part to write about. So, but the thing I discovered, I can go miles for my work. I can sponsor trips to places where I need to be, you know, like if I'm interested and I want to report something. But I've always found that a lot of the art organizations don't reciprocate in terms of, okay, I'm holding you, you came all the way for this program, okay, I can either help house you or something like that, but they don't, I mean, they don't necessarily do that. They always keep asserting, okay, you work for an organization, your organization should pay for you for this trip. So I want to find out to what extent should this support as a member of a family from the art organization be, and to what extent should the journalists go, so that, I mean, even if you're receiving that support, it is going to be quite clear that the support, it doesn't influence what you produce in the final end as an art writer and as a critic.
Okay, that's to German, I suppose, or to all the three speakers.
To all of them, they can all answer, but we start with Mr. German.
Okay, so.
Am I?
Yes.
Okay, well, it's more of a comment, really, not a question. But it reinforces something that Chinelo herself had posted in the chat room.
The chat room,
yeah. She was talking about this experience of during the lockdown. She wrote a lot of stories that never got published. Yet, at the end of the day, she was accused of not being productive. And then agriculture was added to arts and culture. You see what I said about the nature of the newsroom? The way I can relate to that is that I had that kind of experience too in The Guardian, where you were actually declared as, what do you even do in this newsroom? You just write about this. Well, the person used Begilere. You just write all this Begilere. Who gives a something like using curse words? Who gives a damn about what is your Begilere? You think you can get promotion through this and co? But fortunately, one has been able to prove his mettle by maybe over productivity, writing for African Guardian, Lagos Live, Sunday Guardian. Just because you were writing so many stories, and the main paper where you were working was not getting it published. This was shortly after Bentomoluju stepped out, early 1993, and I stepped in as the assistant arts editor. And I was still being challenged. I was not productive enough because I was writing about Begilere. So I had to start pushing my stories to different places and even sent outside of the place, to magazines that were publishing then and co. So I can relate to that experience. And to think that it is still happening now, almost 3 decades or over 3 decades after, shows you that the newsroom has not changed. In fact, I think the newsroom has even become worse, in the sense that now you have, in those days you have editors who were, well, I'm not saying this to put down my fellow editors or colleague editors. Newsroom then used to be manned by people who are educated, and I mean it, because I tell them to their face that if you are educated, you know the role of the arts. But I had a voice because we were almost like contemporaries, so I could speak back to them. Do you expect Chinelo to walk up to them to say, if you are educated, you understand the role of the arts? Because the newsroom mostly now are headed mostly by more or less like political appointees of the owners. Because the owners want to make profit, so they look for the person who can help them to generate money. The people you call foot soldiers, who can go and appeal to politicians to give them money, or who can rob the ego of bankers and so they can get some money. You can get some advice for the paper. So it's a very big deal. And I think the way we can do this, I don't know if it will work, is if, my conclusion the other time, if organizations and associations like we have mentioned are able to at least give feedback to the newsroom to say, look, you have to take special interest in the vocation of this arts writer. As for the organization that are not really showing cooperation to the art journalists, that we met it. It's been there. In fact, when they even show, it's even better for you if they are not really, if they are not coming, like giving you tickets. Because I've been to a place where I went to watch it, and the person pointed at me and said, after we gave you free ticket, I see because you gave me free ticket, I'm not supposed to now write what I'm supposed to write. so my free ticket is already nullify my voice and co. So even while we're saying that artist organization and association should show interest in the vocation of the arts writer and take them along, I would also say that the art journalists should be very careful so that you don't become an appendage or a spokesman, where you then become like, I mean, they see you more as an extension of the PR unit or so. I don't know if I answered the question, Chinelo, but that's the way I could relate to what you're saying. Thank you.
All right, thank you, German. Ijoma, your hand is up.
Okay, so let me quickly what Chinelo said. Unfortunately, it is getting worse. Kwani Kolapo, I know you made mention of it, but I would tell you that unfortunately it is getting worse. A lot of organizations don't really understand what it is all about. Until this is being appreciated, there will continue to be a decline in those covering the industry. Uncle Nicolapo said, okay, yeah, what I pointed out before Chinelo raised this same issue. Today, you are asked to multitask, and I mean it. You are an art person, you write, okay, entertainment is quite huge. You will be asked to do a whole lot. You can even be asked to cover politics and business when duty calls. Even if you have something to do in the industry, in art, and you raise that point, oh, please, I have something to do at the theater, for instance, the person will ask you, how much are you going to bring in? It is really, really getting worse. I work for the broadcast industry, and I will speak from that angle. If it is not bringing money to the table, I'm sorry to say, nobody will give you that listening here. They would rather you cover the banks and politics because, like you rightly said, Uncle Nicolapo, a lot of media owners are politicians and they want to be in the good books of their friends. So that is the reason I'm saying a whole lot of reorientation needs to be done. If media owners don't appreciate the work of her, and if they are not reoriented, trust me, even the newsroom is suffering. The newsroom is suffering. The newsroom is getting slimmer and slimmer every day. If you have 10 people working in a particular newsroom, trust me, the head of an art writer will be cut off before other people will even be asked to go. You will be the first to be kicked out, I'm sorry to say. Then when it comes to the collaboration I was speaking earlier, Chinelo, sorry, if you want to embark on such, I don't know who is funding you, but like myself, the media a lot of media houses are poorly underpaid. They're underpaid. And that is the reason you have people that will tell you, I'm sorry, I just need to mention this. Journalists are being called the brown envelope colleagues. Somebody would throw that to your face because you will see a journalist is looking like a beggar when they are not being paid. A lot of journalists are not even unionized, so nobody to fight for them. So if you would have to embark on some particular program, you will have to foot these bills yourself. So when it comes to you going to, for example, let me say the National Theatre, look for somebody there before you go. That has been what has been helping me for a while. I've been in journalism for over 12 years. I'm not like Uncle Anikolapo. He's a veteran in the industry. But I would tell you that before you should embark on such journey, try as much as possible. If you don't have anyone to speak to NANTAP. NANTAP is all over the federation. Speak to NANTAP. NANTAP will be able to get somebody for you that even if it is as little as accommodation, it will go a long way to even encourage you. Because how much are you being paid? You pay for accommodation, you pay for your logistics, and at the end of the day, you bring back this same story. I'm sorry, I've also experienced this several times. You will have to write a report and it will be trashed. There is absolutely nothing you can do. And that's the reason we have a lot of young folks, even older people these days, they go as far as establishing an online platform in order for their stories, not even if it is being trashed in the newsroom, you still have a voice. You still have a place and a column where people can read what your effort should not be wasted after all. But like my own advice, I pray you take this into consideration. Speak to people you've been working with. There is no how you will have a relationship. If you are going to a place like Ibadan or you are going to the Abuja, you have people that should be able to say, okay, since you're coming into town, you are not this project is not a day's project. It is not a week's project. It is a long-term. It involves long-term planning. So when you communicate to people like this, the burden of the funds you are putting into this will surely be reduced. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Chinelo. Do we have a response from you or we should? Okay. Yeah. Please.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Are you there?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, we're here.
This issue. Okay.
Go ahead, please.
Hello. Hello.
Is okay. So you can start now. You were muted earlier.
Okay. I was saying that the way out of this is not cast in stone, because until now, way back in the Guardian, German can still remember, we used to raise a IOU to travel across the country to cover events without necessarily waiting on the organizers or the event managers to provide any form of assistance. Okay? And this tradition continued until late 90s and early 2000s, I guess. Because even in daily independence then, we were moving around the east, the west, the north, to event places to cover. You know, I was mandated to cover the entire of the southeast. And the office will provide money for you. When you come, you retire it. That is all you are required to do. I went to Bunike Cave, spent about 3 days. I came back, retired it. Shola Balogun went to other places. Yinka Oyebile did the same thing. You know, then the economy was good and the newspaper met business. But now, with the depression, no paper, especially when your pages are not attracting advert to the paper, is ready to fund any of those trips. Even if Ibadan Road here, that you can go and come back same day, they are not ready to put their cupboard there. So the way out of this, like Jamal said, is through partnership. There should be understanding between event organizers and the reporters. It could be halfway matter. The reporter could provide a 50%, the organizer provided 50%. Either in form of accommodation or feeding or all of that. You know, by the time we do that, we'll be able to overcome these challenges. In any case, sometimes when the organizer don't even perform, it gives you a better opportunity to do a thorough job, because by then you are not looking at anybody's face. You can do your story as objective as possible. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. I'd like to ask one more question.
Yes.
So that we can finish this one. The question is, when I think about sustainable theater, you know, following the systems you see outside the country. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, loud and clear. Go on.
Okay, so when I think about sustainable theater, when you look at you know, when you look at the things happening outside the country, it's theater culture. A full theater culture means just like there's a national theater, there's a regional theater, there's community theater. You know, there are so many, and the field is able to employ so many hands, you know, that makes the industry boom, sort of, even if it still has its own challenges. So, but I don't see that happening here in Nigeria. So my question now is, how do we make this theater culture sustainable, especially even as journalists, at least contribute a little bit to making the theater culture a very sustainable one? How do we do that?
Oh, August. That's a question to us three. So anyone amongst us, even though we need to move a bit faster, and so we just have only one person respond to this so that we can take other questions. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Well, okay. I'm not sure it is the job of the arts writer or arts reporter to make theater sustainable. But the arts writer, arts reporter can engage in what we have been talking about to work directly with the artists associations. If, for instance, as NANTAB used to do, even though I was not very much in support of that, where the organization became a theater producer. I thought, I mean, as a member of NANTAB myself, that they ought to encourage their members to produce and give institutional backing. Because if you are producing and your members are producing, I mean, it happened at the National Theatre. There was a year when NANTAB production was clashing with the members' production. And it was now left to, okay, who got the hall? Like somebody went to bribe to get the hall instead of NANTAB. I should have been given the hall. So, but that's on my own political end. So if artists organize, if an artist association, for instance, like NANTAB, says they are backing a particular project, or they have a festival, or they have a project that they want to do, the arts writer could show a lot more commitment. I think Ozolu referenced that in the beginning when he spoke about what Bentomoloju did with National Troupe of Nigeria. Right, in those days, when there's a production or there's a major event, the art desk of the Guardian will set up desk at the National Theatre or at the venue. We'll be reporting from there because there was no phone, there was no computer to send your, so you write your copy there and one of you will take it down to the office and while others are there so that you don't miss any of the production. As I've been covering so many of the events, but it's no longer that practicable. So if it is possible that the arts writer is cultivated, I use the word cultivated, by the art association. And cultivation does not mean bribing or giving him money or so. It's friendship. As you have said, and as the president himself acknowledged, most arts writers are themselves artists in some way. So if you work in some kind of collaboration or cooperation with the artist association, you could help them to project what they're doing. But that's why we say that reporting is first of all what we need. If I was there was a book I was working on when I was talking about my view of criticism, that the reason some of us committed what we call professional suicide by stopping to write criticism was because you were writing and you couldn't even be sure that anybody was reading those critical notes. Because sometimes you even have to file it yourself, tear it and go and give to the producer of the play. Because they have missed it, they don't even know that you have published it or so, or they don't even have capacity to buy the paper all the time. But now it's so easy with phone, with computer, and the rest of them. But so it's called immersion. After all, people, the military, they go to Boko Haram or places that they go for security check with journalists. It happened on CNN in so many places. It's called immersion. If the journalist is involved in an immersion with the organization, with the project, you are helping because the report will be so good. That's what they're doing with Big Brother Nigeria. That is taking over all the house pages now. It's just Big Brother everywhere. That, I mean, it's because somebody sat down to plan it, to say, look, we'll bring this journalist. In fact, most of the journalists are more or less like housemates. Okay, so it's our cooperation that and collaboration that really will help. But the art journalist, it is not his job to make theater sustainable because he has other things to do. But through collaboration with the artist organization, through immersion, through networking, it could help to advance the cause of the association and its projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So we have a few questions for the panelists. Let's take one from Professor Maybell. She said, and this is to Ijoma. It said, Ijoma, despite women being tagged gentlemen of the press, are there gender-specific challenges? Do you see yourself without hurdles from the men in the profession? Are there specific challenges for women in art journalism?
Oh, okay. When it comes to the gender, I've worked with, at the time, depending on the people you're working with, depending on the space you find yourself, you could be having an issue with that. There are people that if you find yourself, for instance, in an event that has to do with the military, trust me, nobody will wait for you. Nobody will treat you as a lady. So you have to, on your own, remember that the job is gender insensitive. They don't care if you're a lady. So that is the reason you have to, at all times, be battle ready. And don't look for sympathy from anyone because you might not get that. You might not get that. So always tell yourself that you are not waiting for anyone to have a pity or be compassionate with you on any ground. Because if you are expecting that, I'm sorry, you will be disappointed.
I think there should be a rider.
Okay.
Prof. hand is up.
Okay, so the second. Hello.
Hold on. Professor Mabel's hand is up. I'm sure it has to do with this. First.
Okay.
Thank you very much for having me on this program because it's been, gladdening in many respects. One, because I think it is important for us as artists to try to create the value that we intend to add to reportage, be it in print and non-print media. If we believe that there is high art and there is low art, I think that the arts reporter should feature in both aspects because it's not just about criticism. A lot of people who are writing about the past of performances, theater history, have had to resort to several journalistic clippings aside from the books that they consult in the library. And so where that value is concerned, the art reporter should try to search out who the gatekeeper is in the newsroom. And I don't think it's out of the way to try to sensitize these sifter of processes, these individual who, because of some hegemonic factors, thinks he or she is the be-all and end-all of the newsroom. And so to beat this kind of money bag journalism, all the participants, panelists have talked about it, that you could publish your story elsewhere. You could blog it or start to keep a diary in such a manner that you are able to write a book. Even if it's a miscellany of some sort, you are able to put your thoughts together for contemporary and subsequent generations to look at. I scribbled down something about immersion in a different way from how, German meant it. if we consider some art reporters to be wet-eared, immersion structures are necessary in order to build capacity. And we can tie that to mentorship, we can tie that to role modeling, so that as you leave the newsroom, just as German, Uncle BT, and some other people have done, or German, do you expect me to call you Uncle too? As they have done, you have succession planned. You have succession planned in a way that there are people to take over from you. Apart from, soft sell angle to reviews or reportage, the quarterly pullout or the monthly pullout is necessary for those who teach theory, who teach criticism, who teach reviews. Because without these, some of us are at a loss on what to refer students to, of what to teach them with in practical terms, that this is what good criticism is about, this is what bad review or bad criticism is about. And I also believe that, I think it was Lagos Weekend in those days, that used to have something like an legend, happening. So you now have to, sensitize the public to go after these art offerings, so that when reporters write their stories, they are able to authenticate, the aftermath of the experiences that both they and the reporters had, before the audience. Of course, I would always encourage my fellow gender to always resolve to march ahead and break whatever glass ceiling there is. And in this regard, it is important for you to have a solid entry point, a good foundation that no colleague, no boss, no customer can gainsay. And I think our elders in the profession could look at this as a means of mentoring. I'm not talking about packaging. I'm not talking about, advancing to be recognized because of what you wear or who you know in the industry, but what you are able to offer. The Gbegilere syndrome is everywhere. Even in the chalk and talk business in Nigeria, many of our colleagues, even professors, do not think we add value to society, but for what they see us achieve, but for what they note that the gap they have noted feeling, then they are able to be cultivated, to be, grown and sensitized to appreciate what you are doing. I think the issue of value is important. Lastly, how do we think about the future? NANTAP, SONTA, RATAU, what is being done to prepare those who are in 300 level, 400 level, NYSC camps? What are you doing? Just as foreign agencies come to source for students for their various institutions, is it possible to have roll-up banners, maybe at different camps, NIPR, go to different institutions, hold talks at the different faculties of arts and social sciences, arts and education, arts and humanities, or faculty of arts, have discussions with these younger people so they thirst and hunger for something that would, you know, facilitate this value that we are talking about. Whether we like it or not, the gainsaying of arts, of reporting, arts, of criticism would continue. And if Nigeria Magazine in the 60s, Theater in Nigeria, a critical source book, could add value, why shouldn't that value continue? But we need people, we need human beings before these art institutions to carry out this tradition, this culture of art reporting. It's a matter that touches my heart because, like German said, we were literally flogged by our teachers. Then we thought they were bothering, but we didn't know they were setting us on a path, you know, to the future, a successful future that would also accommodate younger people under our wings. If we must do that, I think I won't be against it. Let us mentor people. Let us think about the future, because to me, the future is indeed very great. And I believe that from our various experiences, more books are going to be written, no matter the number of pages. Write down your experiences. Call out these bosses who want to denigrate the arts and tell them that the arts is the mother of knowledge, even before the sciences. Without the arts, the sciences wouldn't exist. The sciences wouldn't even have that channel of communicating their processes, their methodologies, and their results to the public. Let me stop here so that other people would be able to contribute. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Professor Mabel. We'd like to have Mr. Oluwanifemi, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please. Yes, we can.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Though not very clear, it's not the best of audio, but
first I'm going to be speaking. And can you hear me well?
Yes, please. Yes, go ahead.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay, fine. I'll be speaking from a producer's point of view. I have just read what Dr. Sholade Yemi wrote about the Martian, and I think it's actually on the right side. I agree with him that there should be more conversation on this issue. The first thing I notice is that a lot of the art writers themselves are not at this program. And it is sad because this should actually have been a program for them. And I think that the people in the industry should organize one where they can come together and where, if possible, we on the producing end can also come together with them and together map out how we can collaborate. I once did a project when I was doing from prison to presidency. Actually, see, it's a nobody Kong. I had him join my team permanently as I'm putting another project together now with Niji Akoni and Kule Koka. And one of the first things we did at our meeting was to sit down and say, how do we get the media along on this project? A lot of producers understand that theater is business. Entertainment is business, art is business. And most of us actually would like to interface with the media because we need to also promote as a business. If the media, our own people in the media, I'm talking of the art writers now, come up with a format of, hey, this will help us a lot. It will solve the problem of without taking the apparatus for granted,
your audio
without thinking that there's something in our
Wait, can everybody hear him because it's cracking up?
What they need.
Hello, Uncle Richard.
Hello.
Sorry, your audio is bad and we could not hear you. I don't know if you can hear me. I had to mute it because the audio is bad and we could not hear you.
You can put it in the chat room.
Let's try again. If it's clear, we continue. Otherwise, we just move to the next person.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, let's see how
yes, we can.
Yeah. So
okay, what I'm saying is, I think the people in the arts writing part of our industry should come together with those of us who are producers, and please, let's come up with a format of the best ways to work together. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. There are two other questions in the box. Do you want me to pick them, Chinelo? There is one from
okay, let me see.
There is one from Dr. Martins, Dr. Matt, I mean to say.
Okay.
There is one from Dr. Matt. He says, is there a dedicated journal or newspaper dedicated to theater and or other art forms in Nigeria, like the weekly paper, The Stage in the UK? That's from Dr. Matt Jennings. Who goes?
Okay, so you'd like our panelists to address that. So.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm not aware of so many of them, but I know that the Texian, which was by Victor Nwokocha, I think I saw him in the house.
He was there earlier on.
Yeah, it was going to serve that purpose. And I think a few other publications, I think NANTAP itself tried one. But you see, talking about journal, it's not just journal that come from just private producers, although that can be. Professor Werioma mentioned Nigeria Magazine. There was a time when the Nigeria Magazine was performing that role in such a way that, you know, if I had learned more about the dances, Nigerian dances and co, that was going on when they were publishing, they were going around the country and reporting on Nigerian dances, and it became very, very important resource book. That when you are writing anything about dance, you have to go there and consult and co. But again, let me throw it back to the academy. I know that the universities are challenged, but I think there's a lot that they can help us to do, because many of their students are already in that mode. Art education in Nigeria is compromised. Well, the entire university system is compromised. But if the theater institutions, for instance, theater department, faculty of art, for instance, they could help, because the students are already knowledgeable about some of these things, and they could help by deploying them, for instance, to go to, for instance, if I'm teaching theater, if there's a Bolanle or St. Peter's production coming up or an Aruja production, I would like to send my students there to go and observe what they're doing and write. That's the way I was trained. That was the way Professor Meben Weroma, Sanji and Yao, those of us who eventually graduated in theater criticism did. We were sent to Dugbe, to everywhere. We even went to television stations to go and see the way they were producing Atorita Bashar. I've forgotten the name of the drama. We were sent there. I was sent to Benin to go and see Hotel Jordan set, so that you could understand what they were doing. That's the kind of immersion that I'm talking about. So if you have students that can be sent, even as part of the assignment, especially look at University in Lagos, University of Lagos, for instance, there are productions going on there. I see a lot of their students participating as actors. Why can't they be the journalists too? Or why can't they be the writers too? That they go to observe Lagos Theatre Festival, for instance, or Fringe and come back to write and become part of their coursework. That was the way we were trained. And I think that's the way you can train a lot of young people. And the idea of journal can come from it. The sustainable theater structure that we're talking about will come from there. Because the more people get to write about theater, the more it becomes a staple on people's table of needs. I mean, that's the way I can respond to that. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, any other? Does any member of the audience want to address the same question?
Any of the
panelists want to address the same question?
I don't think so. So let me read Dr. Sola's comment here. Talking about immersion, there are ways in which this is operated in arts and culture. Producers can invite journalists to their rehearsals, an avenue for the journalists to get those necessary human angle stories, background, which was what German just mentioned now, narratives and interviews. Companies are, I don't know what that abbreviation is meant to be, are budgeted for by producers in other clients. However, I think the main issue is the standard of reporting. This needs to improve, in my own opinion. I am not sure. But this can be left to the media houses alone. NANTAB, for instance, can organize a workshop on reviewing a musical for journalists, current reportage of BAP productions, a point here, or a seminar on reporting theater and performance without making it so dependent on press releases to the point of it reading like an advertorial. I mean, I chose to read that. Permit me also to weigh in on this, that we have to do something like this some 3-4 years. I don't know if Chinelo could remember. We brought Uncle Ben to Abuja.
Entomology, yes.
We brought Uncle Ben to Abuja for a workshop for art reporters because there is a wide gap. Yes, in the whole of Nigeria, but in Abuja it's even worse. Not because Chinelo is there. Chinelo is probably the only art reporter in Abuja that you can beat your chest at the moment. I mean, with all due respect to every other art reporter here, talking about immersion, she chases you around, she wants to be at your rehearsal. But lo and behold, we brought Uncle Ben all the way from Lagos to Abuja, and we wrote to the media houses. We reached out directly to some of the art reporters that we know. And on the day of the workshop, it was a 2-day workshop, and Uncle Ben was here from Lagos. But unfortunately, the art reporters didn't even sit through this workshop. A lot of them will come in the morning, put their name down and ask what is available, what is there, brown envelope, and ask and walk away. And then they will tell you they are coming back. Of course, we know the challenges. Probably they have other beats to cover where they know they will get whatever. So we do these things. And it also happened in Lagos in 2017, which German also referred to earlier, IATC. We had some of this, and we agree that there is need for this mentorship. But the question also goes down to the point is that how readily available or interested even these journalists, the art reporters that we are talking about. Maybe Egbon Zolua will probably respond to that.
Okay. I don't think I have a final answer to the issue you have just raised. But to my knowledge, I think this issue of generational shifts in terms of attitude to job and attitude to self-development. In our days, it wasn't that bad, when you are given an opportunity to learn and you are refusing it. Let me surprise you. Me, Shola, and Steve Ayorinde walked into French Cultural Center for language course, and we did it throughout. While we were doing it, that was the first time Steve has to travel to France. And from there, every other thing started to follow. So I'm shocked to discover that people in Abuja are snubbing such an opportunity where you have a legend like Betty to put them through in art reporting. But for the Lagos leg you mentioned, I'm not even aware of that event. Maybe perhaps I would have keyed to that and drink from the rich knowledge of whoever was the coordinator or the facilitator. In any case, we cannot say because of one or two instances of that kind of dismal performance or refusal to be part of it, we stop doing it. We continue to do our best, and on your side too, I want to enjoin you to keep on pushing so that we can get to the promised land. Thank
you. Chinelo. Hello, Chinelo.
Yes, I'm here.
My screen just went blank, so take over. I can still hear, but my screen is blank.
Okay.
Please, take over. We should be wrapping it up now. It's already.
Okay. So do we have any members of the audience that wish to add something or wish to make a comment? Please, if you do, unmute yourself.
Galaxy 10.
No, it's Ty.
Oh, okay, Ty, yeah.
Hello? Okay, okay, good. Go on, sir.
Yeah, just a quick one. I want to buttress what Dr. Sholadiemi mentioned about the standard of reporting, but I want to talk about it in relation to how the gatekeepers, what the professor called the gatekeepers or the editors' disposition to the reports sent in by their reporters. And I think there are two aspects of art reporting, especially or art reporters. There are two dimensions. There is the journalist, those who study journalism or communication and are trained into reporting theater. And there are theater artists or dramatists or drama studio graduates who found themselves in journalism and then they're asked to report theater. But then you find that the quality of the training they have would impact on the final reports they sent in. Mass communication, as I've been doing it, I have the privilege of having a drama degree as my first degree, and then I have a master's in communication arts. So I was able to lecture in a communication department. I taught drama and I taught reporting. So maybe one way of doing this is to enhance the curriculum of theater students. If arts of reporting can be inculcated into the syllabus or syllabi, then perhaps they will have the orientation already instead of learning on the job when to get into the field. And if they have reportorial skills, I'm sure they will be able to marshal whatever knowledge and skills they have in convincing the gatekeeper or the editor in charge of the publication or whatever into really knowing the value of why such should be reported. And as German corrected himself later, it will be just impetuous to say journalists can't contribute to art reporting, can't contribute to sustainable theater. They really can. Marketing communications is a whole field of interworking between drama, between journalism, between marketing, and those aspects affect art. So reporting, constant reporting, deep reporting, exposition of theater would really or could really help in sustainable in the culture of sustaining theater. Just briefly, thank you.
Dr. Steve James, I think. Oh, is it okay? Sorry, is Galaxy Note 10 that you have your hand up, sir?
Hello.
Okay.
A quick one.
Yeah. Okay, James.
I'm a graduate of mass communication, and I would tell you that part of my studies while in school, film and drama are part of it. You will have to do your drawing box, you have to do filming, you have to do theater as part of, okay, well, maybe because of the school I went to, you have to bring in all of this in order to show your lecturers that you can actually diversify. So I think I just needed to bring that in.
All right. Thank you, Ijoma. And so I have German's hand up.
And to add to what some previous speakers have also made mention, I would also like to tell you that when it comes to gatekeeping in the newsroom, you will have to justify why that story has to be published.
This was in the box? No, on top.
Please go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Tai, could you mute yourself,
I have
please?
done that.
You have to justify if they look at that story and they find out that, in fact, the publications you get these days is determined by how best you write that story and how best that story is correcting or pointing to a particular norm or abnormality in the society. If this is not being done, your story will be trashed. If it is like the prof and the earlier speaker, I can't recall their names. They made mention of, are you writing PR? Is the story purely for PR? Are you trying to tell us the PR part of that story? If this is the way you have written your story, I'm sorry to say, the story will have to wait, depending when they have a time for it to go. And I also saw a question on, if I'm not mistaken, how to separate, how do we ensure that the act reporting is more visible, more appealing, like sports? What can be done to have regular art news as it is with sports on most news hours? Like I said earlier, we all have to ensure that the stories we are churning out, what we are writing, if it has to do with, if it is a human angle story, if you're bringing out that human angle part, your story will be published. If you are just coming to write about PR or to promote a movie or to promote a particular theater program, sometimes, most times, it will be relegated. But when you bring out the community impact, what people are going to benefit, you are writing a story that has to do with gender equality, you're writing about genital mutilation, you're writing about terrorism, you're writing about corruption, you're writing stories that have to do with dealing with the society, the problems in the society. The story will definitely be published. And the angle in which the story is being written, your lead for you is important. And I would also emphasize appeal for, like I said earlier, at my opening speech, we need a collaboration. If there is going to be an event, if it has to do with the art, it doesn't necessarily have to be when it is in Lagos that those in Lagos will be accommodated. If it has to do with other states in Nigeria or even abroad, those that cover the field should be incorporated. They should be brought into whatever it is going to be. When you don't bring them and when you don't carry them along, they will, when it is time for you to have your program, they will want to say, oh, you don't carry us along. That is the reason I keep emphasizing on the fact that collaboration is key. Partnership is key. From when the script has been written or when you're planning, carry the journalist along. Tell us what you're doing. Most organizations, you will find out that there is no singular person that will tell you, okay, this particular individual, what I see this day is you are covering more than the art industry, the sector. They will add another to whatever you are doing because of manpower. So I think this also, the more we bring out these stories, the more the theater and the art practitioners have stories to tell, have stories to churn out. Trust me, there will be a regular, you cannot be doing a theatrical work once in 2 months or in 3 months or in 5 months, and you expect that particular organization to give you a room or to say, okay, this column is for the art writer. But if there is a regular story, if there is a regular input from that particular writer, it will be known that, oh, this particular page is functional. But if it is once in a while, nobody will keep that page open for you. We need a regular story on that to keep that page and to keep that particular forum running. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And on this note, we have to wrap up for today's edition.
Sorry,
yes, okay. All right.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to quickly do a quick correction to. I didn't know it was Dr. Tayo Olutayo. Good afternoon, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. So what I was saying, I don't know if you joined at the beginning. I'd initially spoken about the question of what the arts writer or arts reporter can contribute. I said there are 2 jobs. You have to be is book production and exhibition. Exhibition in the context of what we call expression, and there's a way I captured it somewhere where I said these are the 2 roads I see for the arts writer: dissemination. Okay, so if you work in the newsroom and you are an arts reporter, you are first and foremost a journalist. You have to be very careful because the nature of the newsroom, they recruit you as a reporter, as a journalist. So they are not expecting that part of your official duty will be to make formal, I don't know if I'm capturing it well, formal contribution to sustainable theater development. Because as we have been saying here, the same as reporter has to write about virtually all the field. In fact, one of my concluding notes is that is the new thing that is trending now. That as a journalist, it's better you are a master of something than be a master of nothing. You have to specialize. And I think in The Guardian, then we tried to do it where Ozolua was writing basically on visual arts. Somebody was writing on music. Somebody was writing on film. And so that you can become an authority in that area. So maybe when you become an authority in that area, your contribution will be more in that direction. I know somebody who has been writing on film who has helped to shape the whole narrative about Nollywood as we know it today. So I agree perfectly with you that the art journalist has to will contribute to the sustenance of sustainable theater, but it should not be its primary function. It should first of all be a reporter. So that you can, you need this, what we call the aesthetic distances in theater, that you also need to distance yourself a bit so that you can report. Otherwise, if you get yourself so immersed in it, you won't know when you get on stage. I've been to a rehearsal before where somebody, the journalist jumped on stage and was dancing with it. So when are you going to report? If you become part of the dancers on stage. So we're saying the same thing, just in a different way that we said it. The question of immersion, the way Professor Ewerioma helped us to put it together and the way you have reflected on it, and Ijoma, you just said it. The immersion means that it's part of the capacity building, as I see it, that if you join that kind of thing, you can then, you'll be able to master the language with which you can, that you can write effectively about such a subject. The question of training, of collaboration is of course very much there. I don't think we can exhaust this. It has to be a continuous dialogue. For instance, NANTA president informed that there's a workshop, which I'm aware of, that is coming up. So that kind of thing, that's the kind of collaboration we're talking about. That through that thing, I mean, now the project is run by NANTA, but the main beneficiaries will be as reporters. Okay, just the same way that in school, as I mentioned, that the school can help by getting their students to be more more interested in, it's not enough to train people who are getting their degree in theater criticisms or theater dramatic theories, and they cannot write. How do you get trained in dramatic theories and criticism and you are not writing, even if you are writing to contribute to the newspaper, even if you are not going to work formally in the newspaper? So the question you raised about curriculum, that our curricula that had to be expanded. Yes, reporting is very important, not just art criticisms and because if nobody is reporting, it doesn't get out there. It's like shouting in the room with the door locked. Thank you.
All right, thank you. On that note, we are going to anchor this edition. Interestingly, if we had started exactly at 11, we should have rounded up by now, but we started 11:20 and we are rounding up exactly, about the right time, I should say. And once again, on behalf of NANTAP, on behalf of ICPA, we want to appreciate everyone who has been part of this edition. I mean, it's a very, very important issue to the theater subsector of the creative industry, or the creative industry in general, I must say. And so we appreciate your contributions. And, the links will be available shortly. We can either see it on the YouTube, or usually we send out the links to all the participants. So you are going to get the link to this video. Our only request is, a reference whenever we use this, because we believe that whatever has been postulated here might be useful for anyone, especially for those who are not, part of this session. So it's a material that should be available for everyone to make use of at any time. I can also say to you that we have agreed. Holding talk. If you notice now, this is being broadcast. We are broadcasting these on the Aroja Theater YouTube, but very soon, Holding Talk is going to have a YouTube of its own. So far, we have done 20, which means we have enough materials to start running it, and you never can say this becomes another TED Talk for the creative sector. So we want to say a very big thank you to everyone. Like the president said earlier on, the next more or less activity of NANTAP is on the 7th and 8th of October, when we have that art management workshop. And we chatted earlier on too, where he said, based on some suggestion made here, this is probably there's going to be a part 2 to this session, where, like someone suggested, we are able to bring in the arts and culture writers themselves to be a part of this session, and producers to be part of this session, so that we can have an even more robust discussion about how to advance the cause of art reporting in Nigeria, and of course, its important role in the development or the promotion of art and theater, to be precise. So I want to thank you everyone, once again. Dr. Admaye from Salua Keme, Dr. Steve James from Fulafia, Dr. Tai from the UK, Dr. Matt Jennings, I can call you Martins. It's Dr. Matt Jennings from Ulster University Theatre Department. Uncle Jaman Anipulapo, get choice. I have to add that to it. Ijoma Esek. I got it. That's what you asked me to call it. We appreciate you. We super celebrate you. Thank you. And we are very greedy when it comes to the kind of thing we have done here today. It's not going to be a one-off. So we are going to come knocking on your door. So when next we have some other sessions that is related to your area of specification. Professor Mabel, thank you. We super celebrate you. Dignes Nkechi Okeshola, we also appreciate you. And our moderator, we appreciate you, Chinelo Chikelu. Keep the flag flying. Thank you, everyone, and see you in 2 weeks. Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Have a
Yeah,
good
Chinelo,
day.
thank you. Have a good day.
Have a good day. Bye.
Ijoma, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very
All
much.
right, thank you.
Goodbye. Yeah.
Dr. Steve. Yeah, Okuje, thank you, sir. Dr. Steve, this one that you decided to be a monitoring, you decided to be a monitoring spirit today. Yes, sir.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you very much. Bye.